Do me a favor right now. Pull up your pant leg and look at your lower leg where your sock has been sitting all day long. Do you see that ring pressed into your skin? That indent that refuses to disappear even after you rub it? Time it. Watch how long it takes for that groove to fully vanish. 30 seconds? A full minute? Sometimes even longer? If you're nodding your head right now, I need you to understand something critical. What you're looking at has nothing to do with wearing tight socks. It's not because you had too much salt at lunch. And here's the part that shocks most people over 60. In roughly 7 out of 10 cases, this has absolutely nothing to do with your heart. What you're witnessing is a backup in a system most doctors never explained even exists. And right now, as you're watching this, there's likely a pint or more of fluid sitting in your lower legs that doesn't belong there. Tonight, when you finally lie down, that trapped fluid is going to shift, flood your system, wreck your sleep, and put unnecessary strain on organs that are already working overtime. But I'm going to show you a simple evening sequence, takes less time than brushing your teeth, that stops this cycle completely. Hit subscribe to Dr. Laura Berman. We're closing in on our first 100,000 subscribers, and every single person who joins helps push this kind of information to someone who desperately needs to see it. You know exactly what I'm describing. You get home after a long day and remove your shoes only to discover that your ankles look puffy and swollen. Your calves feel dense, almost wooden. The ring you slipped on easily this morning now feels welded to your finger. You press into the flesh just above your ankle, and it leaves a pale depression that lingers far too long. After sitting for an hour watching television, you stand up and your legs feel like they've been filled with wet sand. You mention this at your next checkup, and what happens? Your doctor orders an echocardiogram. You're told to eliminate sodium. A diuretic prescription gets written, one of those water pills that sends you running to the restroom every 45 minutes. And sure, for a small percentage of people, that brings relief. But for the vast majority of those over 60, it barely makes a dent. Why? Because the fluid causing your swelling was never circulating in your bloodstream to begin with. It's been sitting stagnant in your tissues, and a diuretic can only target what's moving through your veins. You've been draining the wrong reservoir this entire time. Let me clarify something fundamental. Your body operates 2 separate drainage highways, not just one. Everyone knows about the cardiovascular system. Arteries push oxygen-rich blood outward. Veins pull depleted blood back toward the heart. That network has a built-in engine, your heart, pumping automatically without you lifting a finger. But there's a second system, one that works completely differently. It's called your lymphatic network. And here's the part nobody ever sat you down to explain. This system has no engine, no pump, no automatic mechanism whatsoever. Lymph is a thin, almost colorless fluid that seeps constantly from your smallest blood vessels into the spaces between your cells. It carries away metabolic trash, broken down proteins, bacterial debris, and critically, excess water. All of that has to make its way back into your bloodstream through an entirely separate plumbing system made of delicate lymph vessels. We're talking about 2 full liters every 24 hours. But unlike blood, lymph only moves when your body moves. Imagine a conveyor belt that only activates when pressure is applied. Every time you take a step, every time your calf muscle squeezes, every time your ankle bends, you're manually operating that belt. The fluid gets pushed upward, one-way valves prevent backflow, and the system clears. Stop moving for 3 hours straight, and that belt goes completely still. The fluid just pools in your ankles, motionless. When you're 30 years old, this doesn't create much of a problem. Your lymph vessels are flexible and responsive. The tiny valves inside them snap shut cleanly. A short walk across a parking lot is enough to restart everything within minutes. But after 60, 3 deteriorations happen simultaneously. The vessel walls lose their spring, the valves start to leak, and the connective tissue framework surrounding your ankles, the scaffolding that keeps everything snug, begins to loosen. So fluid escapes faster, and the cleanup system slows down. The balance tips, and the reservoir starts growing week by week. Before we go any further, I need to draw a hard line. There are specific situations where swollen ankles are not a lymph issue and require immediate medical attention. If any of these apply to you, stop watching and get evaluated today. First, If one leg suddenly balloons compared to the other within hours and it's painful, hot to the touch, and reddened, you could be dealing with a deep vein clot. That's dangerous. Don't wait. Second, if both legs are swelling and you're experiencing breathing difficulty, especially when lying flat, or you're waking up gasping in the middle of the night, that suggests your heart is under serious strain. That's not something to manage with home remedies. Third, rapid weight gain, 4 or 5 pounds in under a week, combined with swelling and foamy-looking urine. That triad points to kidney trouble that needs lab work immediately. Fourth, painless swelling confined to one side, firm to the touch, in someone who's had cancer treatment or lymph node removal in that area. That could indicate a lymphatic blockage, requiring specialist evaluation. If none of those describe your situation, if your swelling builds gradually through the day, affects both legs equally, improves overnight, and you're not short of breath at rest, then what I'm about to teach you is designed for you. There are 3 distinct patterns of chronic leg swelling in older adults. They look nearly identical on the surface, but have completely different root causes. The first is venous insufficiency. Your veins can't efficiently return blood uphill to your heart. The valves inside have worn out, blood backs up, pressure climbs, and water gets forced through the vessel walls into surrounding tissue. You'll typically see visible varicose veins, a brownish staining on your shin near the ankle, and the puffiness dramatically worsens after standing all day. The second pattern is lymphatic, and this is our focus today. Lymph drainage has slowed to a crawl. Tissue becomes waterlogged. The swelling feels soft and doughy, leaves a deep pit when pressed, and frequently extends onto the top of the foot just behind the toes. When lymphatic swelling has persisted for years, the skin on top of the foot thickens so much you literally cannot pinch it between your fingers. That's a clinical marker, and it points directly at lymph, not veins. The third pattern is systemic, either cardiac or renal. Your heart or kidneys aren't managing total body fluid properly. The swelling is symmetrical, worsens as the day progresses, and critically, it shows up alongside other red flags. Breathlessness, waking multiple times nightly to urinate, crushing fatigue, sudden weight spikes. If those companions are present, you're in pattern 3 and need a full medical workup, not a YouTube protocol. Most people over 60 with symmetrical evening ankle swelling and no other alarming symptoms fall squarely into pattern 2, lymphatic congestion. Let me tell you about a patient I'll call Margaret, 71 years old, retired librarian, living independently in a small coastal town. She walked into my office convinced her heart was giving out. Her story unfolded like this. For nearly 3 years, her ankles had been gradually thickening every evening. At first, it was barely noticeable. Then it progressed to the point where her favorite shoes no longer fit by dinner time. She bought shoes a half size larger. The swelling continued. She brought it up during a routine physical and was sent for an echocardiogram. The results came back completely normal. Her ejection fraction, the measure of how much blood her heart pumps with each beat, was 60%. Textbook healthy. But Margaret kept swelling. A diuretic was prescribed. She took it religiously for 8 months. She was in the bathroom constantly, felt perpetually dried out, and her ankles barely changed. Exhausted and frustrated, she mentioned one offhand detail that unlocked everything. She said, "The strange thing is, when I visit my daughter and we spend the day walking around the city, my ankles actually look better by bedtime." That single sentence was the key. Her swelling improved with activity. It worsened with stillness. Her heart was fine. Her kidneys were fine. Venous ultrasound showed only minor age-appropriate changes. What Margaret had was a lymphatic flow problem that no medication could ever touch, because the fluid wasn't traveling through her bloodstream. It was marooned in her tissues. Here's what happens inside Margaret's body every single day, and very likely inside yours. She wakes up and her ankles look nearly normal. She's been horizontal for 8 hours. Gravity hasn't been dragging fluid downward, and her lymph system has had all night to slowly clear out yesterday's buildup. By morning, she's close to baseline. She gets up, eats breakfast, sits at the kitchen table reading for an hour, sits in her car for 15 minutes, sits at her knitting group for 2 hours, eats lunch, sits again. By mid-afternoon, she's been upright but mostly stationary for 6 or 7 hours. Fluid has been steadily leaking from her capillaries into the tissue of her lower legs the entire time. Her calf muscles have barely engaged. The lymph conveyor belt has hardly budged. The fluid just accumulates silently, a few milliliters at a time, into a hidden reservoir. By evening, the sock line is visible. By 9 o'clock, her ring feels tight. By 10, she lies down to sleep. And now the real chaos begins. All that pooled fluid in her ankles, now freed from gravity's pull, starts slowly re-entering her bloodstream. Her heart suddenly receives a volume surge it wasn't expecting. Her kidneys detect the spike and ramp up urine production. She wakes at 1 in the morning, again at 3, again at 5:30. By 6, she's worn out. The cycle resets the next day. 2 quick self-tests you can do right now. First, the depression test. Find the bony ridge along the front of your shin about 4 inches above your ankle. Press your thumb firmly into the flesh. Hold it there for 15 seconds. Lift away and observe. If there's a visible dent that takes 10 seconds or longer to disappear, you have what we call pitting edema. Grade 1 is shallow. Grade 2 is deeper and lasts longer. Grade 3 is a pronounced crater lasting over a minute. Make a note of your grade. You'll retest after 2 weeks on the protocol, and the improvement will be measurable. Second, the skin pinch test. Try to lift the skin on the top of your foot, right behind your second toe, between your thumb and finger. If you can easily lift and fold the skin, your lymph is still flowing. If the skin feels glued down and won't budge, you have advanced lymphatic saturation. That's called a positive stemmer sign, one of the simplest clinical indicators of chronic lymph backup that exists. 3 daily habits that silently worsen lymph swelling. Most people over 60 unknowingly do all 3. First is concealed sodium. Not the salt you sprinkle, but the sodium hiding in cheese, deli meats, canned soups, bread, sauces, restaurant meals, frozen dinners. Sodium pulls water from your bloodstream directly into your tissues. Your body retains roughly 4 cups of water for every extra gram of sodium consumed. Most Americans over 60 are getting double the sodium they realize. Second is post-dinner sitting. Those hours between 7 and 10 at night when you finally relax in your favorite chair are exactly when your legs are accumulating the most fluid. 3 uninterrupted hours of stillness after your heaviest meal creates the absolute worst conditions for overnight fluid reabsorption. Third is evening alcohol. A single glass of wine dilates your capillaries, increases the rate at which fluid escapes into tissues, and suppresses the hormone that tells your kidneys to ease up at night. 1 drink, and your ankles will be visibly worse by sunrise. Now the flip side, things that actively support lymph movement. Water. This feels counterintuitive. Most people with swelling drink less because they assume more water equals more puffiness. The opposite is true. Dehydration makes lymph thick and sluggish, harder to move. A well-hydrated system has thin, fast-moving lymph. Aim for roughly half your body weight in ounces, spread throughout the day, tapering off after 5 in the afternoon. Foods rich in natural bioflavonoids, plant compounds that strengthen tiny blood vessel walls and reduce leakage. Top sources include dark berries, buckwheat, citrus peel, red cabbage. A cup of berries daily has measurable effects on capillary strength after about 8 weeks. Dietary protein. This surprises people. Low blood protein, specifically low albumin, is a hidden driver of tissue swelling in older adults. Albumin is the protein that keeps water inside your blood vessels where it belongs. When it drops, water seeps out into tissues and stays there. Many older adults are quietly protein deficient. 2 solid servings of quality protein daily, eggs, fish, poultry, legumes, Greek yogurt, directly improves your body's fluid physics. Magnesium. Deficient in most people over 60. Critical for smooth muscle tone, including the walls of lymph vessels. Pumpkin seeds, dark leafy greens, almonds are excellent food sources. Now, the 5-minute evening routine that drains your ankles before bed. This is the heart of everything. Pay close attention. Every step matters. Morning routine. Before your feet touch the floor, while still lying in bed, perform 30 ankle pumps. Point your toes downward, then flex them back toward your shins. 30 repetitions. takes 45 seconds. This jumpstarts lymph flow after 8 hours of stillness and prevents fluid from rushing downward the instant you stand. Daytime maintenance. Every hour you're seated, do 20 calf raises. Heels down, lift your toes upward and lower them. Or if you can stand, rise onto the balls of your feet and drop back down 20 times. Takes 30 seconds, keeps the conveyor belt active throughout the day so fluid never gets a chance to build up. Set a phone alarm if needed. Pre-dinner walk. 5 minutes of gentle walking, not exercise, just movement. Around the block, through your house, across your yard. Walking activates deep calf muscles in ways seated movements can't replicate. Evening drainage sequence, 90 minutes before bed. This is the critical piece. Lie on the floor or your bed. Place both legs straight up against a wall at roughly a 90-degree angle. Your heels higher than your hips higher than your heart. Stay there 15 minutes. During those 15 minutes, perform slow ankle circles, 10 in each direction. Then alternating ankle flexes, 20 total. Then, still inverted, place both hands flat on your abdomen and breathe deeply through your nose, letting your belly rise for 3 full minutes. Slow diaphragmatic breathing activates your thoracic duct, the main drainage channel of your entire lymphatic system, which runs right behind your diaphragm. Every deep breath is literally pumping your lymph. After 15 minutes, slowly roll onto your side, sit up, and do something simple but powerful. Starting at your ankle, use the flat of your hand to stroke the skin upward toward your knee. Slow, gentle pressure, always moving toward your heart, never downward. 10 strokes per leg. This is a simplified form of manual lymphatic drainage, and it physically pushes fluid from tissue spaces into lymph capillaries. Immediately after this sequence, you'll feel the urge to urinate. You'll release 300 to 400 milliliters of pale urine. That's the fluid that would have otherwise woken you at 2 in the morning. You just drained it consciously while awake. Margaret followed this exact protocol for 3 weeks. By the end of week 1, her sock marks were gone by morning. By week 2, she stopped waking at night. By week 3, her ankles at 9 in the evening matched what they used to look like at 9 in the morning. Her echocardiogram hadn't changed. Her medication list hadn't changed. What changed was that her lymph system was finally being given the activation it needed at a time that worked with her life, instead of scrambling all night while she tried to rest. 5 actions to take tonight. 1. Perform the depression test right now. Know your grade. Write it down. 2. Eliminate one major sodium source tomorrow. For most people, that's cheese, deli meat, or canned soup. Pick your biggest offender and replace it for 2 weeks. 3. Before dinner tonight, take a 5-minute walk. Not after. Before. 4. 90 minutes before bed. Legs up the wall for 15 minutes. Deep belly breathing for 3 of those minutes. 10 upward strokes on each calf when you finish. 5. Tomorrow morning, 30 ankle pumps before your feet hit the floor. Do this for 2 weeks. Retest the depression test. The change will genuinely surprise you. One last request before you go. I want to know 2 things. First, how old are you? Drop your age in the comments. The age demographic of this audience genuinely shapes what I prioritize next. If most viewers are 65, the next video looks different than if most are 75. Second, where are you watching from? City, state, country? Leave it below. I want to see how far this message is traveling because it helps me understand who needs this information most. And if you know someone whose ankles swell every evening, someone who's been told it's their heart and handed a pill that doesn't work, send them this video. You might give them the explanation nobody else bothered to provide. Your ankles aren't failing you. They're a drainage system that stopped receiving the movement signals it needs to function. Give it 5 minutes a day, and the difference isn't subtle. It's the kind of shift you see in the mirror, feel in your shoes, and notice the first morning you wake up without needing to check if the swelling is still there.